Hi. In this video, I'll be comparing the two editions of Mission Red Planet, game designed by the two Brunos, Bruno Cathala and Bruno Faidutti. The one on the left came out in 2005 from Asmodée. I think Asmodée is known more nowadays as an umbrella of a lot of different brands, but this was from before Asmodée became the Goliath it's known as now. You can see it has quite a strong steampunk theme, a little bit dark. On the right is the 2015 edition. That's a 10-year anniversary, but they don't promote it as such. Anyway, this one's from Fantasy Flight Games, which is of course now a part of Asmodée. I think that transition was happening around the time the second edition was being developed. You can see the cover art has a bit of a lighter touch, a little bit more whimsical. Second edition at the bottom is a very, very standard square box, standard for Fantasy Flight and any number of other companies like Days of Wonder, like Ticket to Ride. Mission Red Planet, as you can see, is a little bit narrower in all directions and a little bit thicker. I want to say it's similar in size to something like a Seven Wonders. The first edition shows all the components just splayed out without any sort of context as to how you play. Second edition has a gameplay state. The original edition showed ages 10 and up, 60 minutes, 3 to 5 players. Second edition says ages 14 and up. Just know that the 14 plus is used to signal to the American government that it's not a toy, so it's not subject to extra regulations when importing. 2 to 6 players don't buy this game just for 2, but the 6th player is welcome. And now it says 45 to 90 minutes, so it's obvious that their calculus was 15 minutes per player. In the 3 to 5 player edition, they just averaged it to 4 players and you got 60 minutes. And here they give a range 3 to 6. The 2-player one uses dummy players, so it would take longer than 15 minutes per player. First edition has a plastic insert. You can see it has nested wells for the smaller event cards as well as the larger character cards that sit on top. A single well for all the bits. Can be a little bit of a tight fit if you're using plastic baggies. The 2 boards sit on top. So where do we put the rockets now? Oh, just dump them all on top. This is a surprisingly common thing. It happens multiple times, especially in French games. I know Days of Wonder had this problem as well. Second edition, this is pretty standard for Fantasy Flight. It just has a cardboard insert with a single well where you just put everything in. The first edition rulebook is mostly clear, but it has a lack of graphical examples. Just a lot of text. It also explains what each of the characters does, which I appreciate. The second edition rulebook goes into more detail. Text is smaller, but interestingly, the rulebook itself doesn't actually describe the character abilities in detail. It shows this, which just elaborates on some of the finer points of the characters, but you actually have to look at the character cards to understand what they do. The original first edition, released in France, had a round board. Apparently it didn't lay flat, so they tried the square board, which also doesn't lay flat. If you get first edition and your board is bent, you might be tempted to backbend it, like I describe in my board game maintenance and repair tips vid. I would suggest not trying it for this game. I have heard stories of people just breaking the board clean in half when they try to do that. You'll notice there are 10 regions on the first edition board. Second edition has a puzzle piece board, and it has a round board. One of the 10 regions of Mars from first edition has been moved to the moon of Phobos. So there are only 9 on the planet proper, and this actually ties in with a change to one of the characters, the soldier. Here are the rockets. In first edition, they were cardboard tiles, which meant that you couldn't really shuffle them, but I didn't have much of a problem with them. Just dump them all in the box lid and mix them up that way and draw a blind. But they changed that to cards in the second edition. It does mean that they're a little bit larger, and the map part is a little bit larger too. That's good. And there's actually a neat effect when you combine it with the launch pad. Now in the first edition, the cardboard tile simply sat on top of this board. And you would just remember you'd have a number of rockets equal to the number of players, so 3, 4, or 5. On the bottom is the round counter. In second edition, which is at the bottom, the round counter is separated into a dial. In the second edition, the launch pad are puzzle pieces, and you would add a certain number of puzzle pieces based on number of players. For the rockets, the cards show a sealed door and the rocket in flight with fire coming out of the back. But you slip them under the cardboard launch pad. The cardboard launch pad shows an open door. So it's a nice little visual effect. They're on the launch pad, the door is open, and when you launch them, you slide the card out, and it shows the door closed and the rocket in flight. These are the character cards. Each player has a set of their own player color. First editions are a bit of a strange size. First edition has a few typos in places, and the text is smaller. The only real difference in the characters is in the soldier. Now there's an extra thing where one of the regions has been moved off of Mars proper and onto the moon. And now the soldier has an extra thing where not only does it do the things it would normally do, but now, because Phobos, the moon, is a location that astronauts can go to, the soldier brings some astronauts from Phobos onto the surface of Mars. So it makes the soldier a bit more powerful. A fun tweak that they made in 2nd edition is reversed the numbers of the characters. You see, you'd count from 1 to 9 in the 1st edition in order to see who has chosen which character. And in 2nd edition, they made it a countdown, counting down from 9 to 1, which feels a little bit more thematic with rockets involved. Seems in 1st edition it was very common to forget the ice monopoly, the bonus 9 points for having the most ice tokens. So in 2nd edition they made it a face-up card that everybody can see and compete for. I didn't go through the decks to see whether the cards were the same or not. There is a new type of event card in the 2nd edition, which is action. So there are missions, which are the same as the bonus points in 1st edition, and discovery, which are cards that get played on regions of Mars on the edge of the board. But now there are also action cards. I actually don't like the action cards because they make the game even more unpredictable. You know, in some ways they actually tone down the unpredictability for 2nd edition, but here's one where they actually bumped it back up. If somebody has an action card, you don't know when it's going to come out, you don't know what it's going to do. And there's only 4 action cards. Honestly, I'm kind of tempted to just take out those action cards. 1st edition had wooden discs. 2nd edition have plastic astronauts. As you can see, 6 colors instead of 5. Notably, red is not a player color, which is appreciated in a game about the red planet. I might be unique in this, but I actually have found that the plastic astronauts can be hard to count. The reason is because they have a helmet and they also have a flag, and they're kind of similar in height. I have to make a point to count the flags, which is actually, for me, easier said than done. But I might be unique that way. I do love the shape of the plastic astronauts, very cool. Finally, the resource tokens. I forget what the ones that are not ice are called, but ice is the number 1, and then there's 2 and 3. That's how valuable they are. The distribution is different. In the 1st edition, there were 14 of these tokens. Well, there are only 10 regions, which means there was quite a lot of variability in terms of whether there were lots of valuable tokens or not many valuable tokens. In the 2nd edition, there are only 11. Again, 10 regions, so only one of these is not going to be shown, resulting in very little variability. I kind of like the greater variability of the 1st edition. Thanks for watching. Older games like Mission Red Planet definitely don't stop being good just because newer games come out. Take care.